Hello and welcome back once again to Movie Reviews. So, final film of the night. Had to wait a while to see it, but I finally got around to seeing Sin City 2, Dame to Kill For. I don't want to give away too much of the story, but I'm going to more or less compare it to the original Sin City film. Honestly, it wasn't as good as the first film. In the first one, they did the black and white thing, but they did a lot more of the comic book stylization, if you know what I mean. Obviously, anyone who saw that movie, The Spirit copied a lot of it. In this, they either toned it down a lot or overdid it. And it more or less just made a black and white film. There wasn't a whole lot of the, like white silhouetting of things and, stuff like that. It was very rare that they did it, so most of it was just black and white. The little bits of colorization that the first one did, like making someone's lipstick red and their eyes green, and then nothing else until, like, the yellow bastard, and then nothing else until, like, this little thing over here, or like the one girl's blue eyes or something. It was very subtly done in the first one, and it was an accent to something when they did it. It was to point something out. In this, like, every scene had at least one item in it colorized, like whether it was blood, someone's eyes, someone's lipstick, someone's hair, someone's jacket, someone's whatever. Something was colorized in almost every shot. The makeup wasn't as good in this one as in the original. A lot of the stories center around Marv, the character of Marv, and his makeup just looks really off compared to the original. His face looks like a lot fatter, like he's like 20 years older or something. I mean, it just looks really weird. Same with Bruce Willis's character of Hartigan. It just looks like I don't know what they did to it, but like all the makeup was off. Like Bruce Willis's X scar on his forehead in the first one was very subtle. In this one, that was like one of the things that they accented in the comic book whiting. So it was like glowing the whole time, and it was really weird because it didn't glow in the first one. It's just all kinds of weird things. Then you obviously have like recasting the large black guy in the first one. I may be wrong, but I think he was played by the hell's his name? The guy that Michael Clarke Duncan. I could be wrong on that, but I think it was. And obviously he passed away, so they had to recast him. But the guy they got doing it now, I can't think of his name either, but he fills the role real well, but it just seems off. Another character I think they recast was the character of Miho. She just didn't have the elegance in this one that she did in the first one. So yeah, definitely, if it is a different actress, then I definitely like the original Miho a lot better. If it's the same actress, I'm sorry, but I don't know what happened between the original film and this one, but yeah. Then I started to get confused at one point whether this was a sequel or a prequel. Obviously, it's doing the Nancy character wanting to avenge Hartigan's death. So obviously it's a sequel in that sense. But then, like, it goes into the backstory of the Dwight character and the girls of Old Town. Again, the large black guy with the missing eye, it goes into his backstory, how he lost the eye, all this. So I was like, oh wait, is this a prequel? Well, no, it can't be, because the Hartigan story. Then I realized it's both. They're telling one side of, how did we get to the first one, and then what happened after the first one. And then there's this whole side story with Senator Rourke and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character. And there's like this little side plot with these two cops that just goes nowhere. there's a small scene with, the hell is his name? Powers Booth's character, which I thought was going to have a lot more going on with the film based on the preview. He's in it for like 2 seconds, so obviously setting up for him to appear in a sequel. So there probably will be a Sin City 3 somewhere down the road. You know, unfortunately, this is another one of those films that kind of suffers from Bruce Willis being in it, where the first one, he was a large part of it, had a big part of the storyline. In this one, you can tell the guy just wants to retire, but for some reason keeps saying yes to movies. You know, it's like he's only appearing like periodically as a flashback to Nancy's character. So, and then like even one of the bits was just a flashback to the first one, and they actually used a clip from the first movie. So you can tell it's just like really lazy on his part. You know, they probably paid him a lot of money to appear for one day, you know, shoot all the little bits where he would show up, and then that's it. Yeah, his character really had no presence in this one. And, I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that he was such a big part of the first one, I'd say you probably could have done without him in this one. But I can understand why he was there. Jessica Alba returns as the PG-13 stripper who doesn't strip. Her character is supposed to be evolving into this badass, but by the time she gets there, you just don't really care anymore. And Jessica Alba, I'm sorry, she's beautiful, but she's not an action star. Like, she looks so out of place walking around carrying guns and shooting things compared to like the other female characters. Even the other female characters that were in the first one, they looked out of place in this one, like Rosario Dawson. She just looked odd shooting the gun, the same with all the other girls in Old Town. But they kind of looked awkward in the first one, too, if you really take a close look at that alley scene. So, yeah, overall, I haven't read this comic book. I didn't read any of the Sin City comics before the first one either, but I enjoyed the first one a lot more than I enjoyed this one. But with that said, this one wasn't bad. It just seems like there should have been more to it. But at the same time, it took how many years? Like 4 years to get the sequel out. I saw online the other day that it bombed at the theater on its opening weekend. And honestly, it doesn't surprise me. It's, as most sequels are, it's a little bit lesser of a film. Honestly, if they hadn't waited so many years before putting it out, if they would have got it out right away, it probably would have been a lot better. I originally heard that they delayed it for so long because they kept waiting for Angelina Jolie to play a character, but her schedule conflicted because she wanted to do it. So they kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, and then I don't know if they just decided to scrap that and go with someone else, or if she's going to be in the next one and they just put this one out to fill the gap so it's not too long between sequels, even though it's been like 8 years. So yeah, I never really kept up on that story after like the first year or so of hearing that they were going to do a sequel, but they were waiting on her, so I don't know whatever became of that. Yeah, so overall, as far as a star rating, I don't want to rate it too low because it was still a decent enough film, but compared side by side to the original, it doesn't live up to what the first one was, at least to me. It was better than The Spirit, but at the same time, The Spirit was moderate at best. This is just slightly above that. I don't want to be a dick and rate it too low of a 2.5 or 2.5 stars, but does it really deserve a 3? I don't want to make this a night of 3s. I mean, honestly, yeah, it qualifies for a 3. It's straight up middle of the road movie. Could go either way, take it or leave it. If you like the first one, check it out, but you're not going to get much more out of it except a little bit more of the story. And really, if this is what the sequels are going to be, I could have done without this one. I could have just went on loving the first Sin City. Honestly, this kind of takes away from it, knowing that this is partly what led up to it and partly what follows it, you know, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with a 3. I don't want to rate it too low of giving it a 2.5, but it would be a high 2.5 pushing a 3 if I did. But I'm gonna say a low 3 pushing a 2.5, if that gives you a better idea of my thinking of it. But it's definitely a middle of the road film. If you like The First in the City, check it out. Maybe when it comes out on Netflix in a month or so. Yeah. Other than that, not much more to say about it. Not sure what movies are coming out next week. I haven't had time to look at it. I'm way behind on getting my videos posted because my internet's been down for a few days. So I'm going to have to do a mass media dump over the next couple weeks. So you probably won't even be seeing this until at least a week or two after I'm filming it. Hopefully sooner. So in the meantime, I don't know what I'll be getting up to next. But I'll get up to something as usual. Again, sorry for the long media blackout there for a while, but like I said, had some issues going on, and you know, sometimes life gets in the way. But anyway, so that's it for this episode of Movie Reviews. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of Movie Reviews.